Hi guys, it's Lynn here. Hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Now in this video I'm going to be talking about what to do if you find that your cactus plant goes very shriveled at the base. Now this is a bit different to natural corking and sort of the natural shriveling that you get on mature cacti as they get older. And I'll just show an example of typical natural corkiness on cacti here. That's one of our Matucanas, the brown at the base there, and that's normal natural corkiness. Also Luckenbergia principis there, like natural corkiness, and one of our very old Pharaoh cacti, natural corkiness there. And sort of as a lot of cacti mature, especially the bowel types, they do tend to go a little bit more shrivelly at the base. But the problem you've got is if it goes very shriveled and the plant stops growing at the top. Now this is my big Echinopsis mammilosa, and this flowers every year with the most gorgeous, remarkable flowers. But this year it didn't flower for me, and I noticed it's always been a bit obviously more shriveled at the base and natural corkiness. But I noticed it's going more and more shriveled, and because it didn't flower, I thought that's a bit of concern, so I'm going to take it out of its pot and check it over. Now I have made a video already on corkiness on cactus plants such as this at the base and here, and if you have this happen on your cactus, very common, and I'll show you that's on a Euphorbia succulent corkiness there. Do check out a video I have made on corkiness on cactus plants and all about it and why it happens, and links up above to that video and also down below in the video description. That's a completely different thing, and I'm not worried about this brown here. If it was soft and rotting, then that's a different thing entirely, and rot has to be treated, or certainly it has to, if you can treat it if it's not too late. And again, I've made many videos on how to treat rot on cacti and succulents, so I'll leave links to them videos down below on how to save a rotting cactus. But in this case it's not rot, it's just natural corkiness, and I wouldn't worry if it's a little bit of shriveling, but it's been, as you can see, they're big, lots of shrivels here all the way around the base. It's almost growing into like a mushroom shape, and if it was still growing as normal and flowering, I wouldn't be too worried, because I say it is normal for them to wrinkle a bit and shrivel and hard at the base, but this is continuing to wrinkle. So I wanted to just do this video because if you have this happen to your cactus plants, then I always say then it's best to get it out of the pot, because there could be a number of reasons why it's happening. Sometimes it's harmless and it is just part of the plant aging, but a lot of the time there's something going on with the roots, and often the most common one will be root mealybug or other type of pests in the roots that attack the roots and stop the plant from growing. So you don't know what's wrong. You think it's strange, you know, I've got it in good soil and watering and not over watering and doing everything right, but the plant is still shriveling at the base or shriveling all over and no signs of rot. And sometimes it can also be down to something as silly as not changing the soil as often as you should. The soil, it doesn't matter how much of a very well draining soil you use, and I always use a very well draining gritty cactus soil when I pot up my cactus plants. Over time the soil does change the pH, and it can either go too low or too high, and individual cactus plants have their own preferences with pH. In general, as a broad range of cacti, around 6.5 to 7.0 is good for both the water and also the soil pH. But again, it does depend. Many different cacti have different, but they all seem to, they can sort of adapt to lower or higher in general. But over time, especially if you're using hard tap water, it can get too alkaline in the soil, and that can just stop the roots from, they don't necessarily die, but it can stop the plant from taking up moisture. So that's another thing that can happen as well. I often find if I can't find anything wrong with the roots as such, I just change the soil and it's okay. I always use rainwater as much as possible with our cacti and succulents anyway, which is a good pH. But as I say, if you have this happen, get it out the pot. First of all, you need to check for root mealybugs. Now when you get it out the pot, you often see root mealybugs. I've took this out obviously. Root mealybugs would all be down the bottom. They're often very cotton woolly like, and very fluffy as well. And this is actually perlite in here and a bit of pumice, so it can be a little bit confusing because this can also look like mealybugs sometimes, but obviously it wouldn't be like this. And this is hard, as you can see, this is just part of perlite there. Mealybugs, when you squeeze them, they go either pink or sort of greeny sort of juice to them, and I can't see any signs of mealybugs, so and all other type of root insects either in here. Very well draining soil. The roots actually look good as well. I've loosened it. This did have more soil on it when I took it out of the pot. I loosened it up, and as you can see, that roots are pretty much okay. There's fresh roots as well coming around, growing on the other side. And it's the fall now, autumn time. So what I'm going to be doing is taking as much of this, loosening up this soil just to check that there's nothing going on with the roots deeper down that I can't see. Then I'm going to leave this unpotted for a few days to allow any roots I've had to detangle that have come away to callus over. Then I'm going to pot this up in totally dry cactus soil, a very well draining gritty cactus soil, and then leaving this dry then over the winter rest period, and then start watering again in the spring. So it's got a chance to sort of acclimatise to the new soil over the rest period. So that's it. So there's no obvious signs of pests at first, but I'm going to now loosen up the soil, show you how I'm going to be doing it, just to double check what's going on inside this root ball. Now you want to do is very carefully when you're dealing with roots, you don't want to go just pull apart like that, because the less damage you can do the better, but at the same time you also want to loosen up this old soil. Now I repotted this, I think it was only last year, so I doubt very much whether there's a problem with the actual soil pH or anything like that. In fact, I always use rainwater, but you know, with the majority of my cactus plants, this one included. So again, it shouldn't be, I haven't actually got a pH, I've got a water pH test kit, but not a soil pH test kit, but I don't think it's that. It looks pretty good. I just want to check that there is no signs of any vine weevils, because vine weevils, unlike root mealybugs, they're always mostly on the pots as well. When you take them out, they're quite easy to see. Vine weevils can burrow right inside, you don't see them, and they can be another pest. Not always a pest of cacti in general, but I have known them in the past. And again, that's a whole new, if I was to find that, that'd be a whole new video. This is just removing as much of the soil as I can, being careful not to disturb any roots. So it looks pretty good there, as you can see. Can't see any obvious signs of any problems, but what I'm going to be doing is, if I can't find anything, then loosen up as much as to remove as much of the old soil as I can anyway, and then, as I say, leaving it to dry, callus over the roots for say a couple of days, until the actual roots are sort of all completely okay to pot up into the fresh soil. Usually a couple of days is okay here. So I'm going to carry on loosening up this soil and then show you what it's like when it's all loosened up. Now I've loosened up as much of the soil as I can, and I'm actually coming through with this now. There's loads of fresh, when I loosened the soil, some of the lovely fresh, lovely white fresh roots came away. So I'm going to leave this now. I know that there's plenty of fresh roots in there, and if I was to do too much damage, as in loosening up the soil at this time of year, as I say, it's fall, autumn now, then the last thing I want is to do that before it's going into its winter dormancy. So that's okay. I know this was repotted only last year, so that's good soil. All these little fresh roots see coming through there, I'm going to leave them. No signs of pest or anything like that. So I'm going to leave this unpotted now for a couple of days, just because obviously I've loosened some of these that have come away, and then pot it up in totally dry, well draining cactus soil, keeping it totally dry then until the following spring. Now if I was doing this and it was the spring and summer, I would pot it up into dry soil again, leave it for about 10 days and then start to water again. But as I say, it's coming up to the winter rest period, so that's why the only reason why I'm going to keep this totally dry now over the winter. And the soil mix I'm going to be using will be 4 equal parts of a loam-based soil, L-O-A-M. In this case, I use John Innes number 2, mixed with equal parts of sharp sand, grit and pumice. And I sometimes use a bit of lava rock as well. I might add a bit of lava rock in with it as well, but definitely the 4 equal parts of that, and then keeping this dry, as I say. So this is just a bit of a video vlog for you. Should you have that happen and you have your plants wrinkling at the base, do get it out. Happy to say there's nothing wrong with this. It's probably just wrinkling at the base, mainly down to age, and not all plants flower every year. There's a lot of new growth that was at the top that came on in the spring, so it's healthy in that way, and see what it does next year anyway. So always best to check your plant's roots, and if you find pests and bugs, there's a number of ways to deal with it. I have made a video on how to treat root mealybugs, so I'll link that video up above and also down below in the video description. And when I say root mealybugs, it's also the same if you have vine weevils and things like that. And sometimes watering the soil with neem oil periodically, sort of every few weeks, helps to prevent any bugs from entering. And since we've been doing that, we haven't really had a problem with pests on the roots. But if it's not going to stop other type of things if if you've already got it. I would personally use a systemic root treatment first to get rid of it, and then use neem after then to prevent anything coming back. But as I say, I've made videos on that, and do check them out. So there we go, guys. I hope you found that video useful. And if you want to know lots more tips and tricks on growing cacti and succulents, don't forget to subscribe for almost daily videos. And also do check out my website, desertplantsofavalon.com, for lots of growing tips on there. And thank you all so much for watching. I want to send you loads of love, heaps of happiness, and tons of cactus power from across the Emerald Isle. And until my next video, bye.